Hello, Scoob believers, and welcome to episode number 86 of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line. And it's me, Scoob, coming at you whatever device you happen to be listening on. Okay, before we get into today's episode, just a really super quick announcement. I do have a Facebook group that I have opened up to the public, and that means you could join me and a lot of my guests that I've had in my podcast and get valuable information, or if you just want to introduce yourself or get some help, please join me at tuepodcast.net/Facebook group. All right, so today we're talking to somebody that's I don't even know how I could explain this guy. He is just so awesome. His name is Mike. Now, Mike is the unexpected leader of the Hounds of Business community, a group dedicated to supporting heart-centered, high-level professionals in their entrepreneurial adventure. He's transformed his approach to business by embracing authenticity and letting his true self shine. And you're going to see a lot of true self in this episode. Also, as a self-dedicated Rocky Balboa of business, Mike overcame poverty and self-doubt to become a successful entrepreneur and mentor. He advocates for courage before confidence and emphasizes the importance of inner work in achieving big business. I just can't wait to introduce him, so let's not wait any further. Here is Mike. Salutations, Scoob believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we're here with Michael. Hey, Michael, how's it doing?
Hey, fair to middling, buddy. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. It's fantastic to have you on the program.
Oh man, pleasure being here. Love your stuff, man. Great stuff.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. All right, so before we go anywhere else, I want to ask you a very semi-serious question. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Are you a Scoob believer?
Who isn't? Heck yeah, I'm a Scoob believer.
All
I even
right.
got the t-shirt, man. You didn't
Oh,
know that?
you got a t-shirt?
I got one before you, it sounds like. Yeah, I have to hook you up, man. I make Scoob believers t-shirts, man. That's what I do.
Nice. Appreciate that.
Nice. You're welcome.
All right, so Michael, do me a favor here, and in the beginning, let's just kind of get a little idea of who you are and how you got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
Woo, I wish that was a straight line, Scoob, but I'll try to keep it concise there. So I've basically been the Rocky Balboa of business my whole life, man, or life in general. Just get beat up so bad that life sometimes says, hey, just give him something. And I think a lot of folks, since there's new entrepreneurs that listen to this, can really relate to that. But I grew up just kind of a little backstory. I grew up just really poor. I bounced around from the city to country areas. And I was all passionate, no clue. Didn't really fit in as a kid. I went to college, got 2 college degrees, overly educated pink neck, so to speak. And I was just chasing anything I could, but I just didn't have the guidance. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur. Nobody really did much in there as far as higher education. And so I just kind of bought into that American dream, get a good job, right? Be happy, go to work, go to church kind of stuff. And deep down inside of me, I tried to suppress it, but I couldn't. Deep down inside, there was something that just wanted to be somebody and do something special. And I just kept telling it to be quiet, but it just wouldn't. And so really everything come to fruition in around COVID, right? Everybody's got that pivotal COVID story, Scoob. And that story right there, man, that launched me into a whole new realm that I've actually wrote in a book about how I became the unexpected leader of the Hounds of Business community and did what I would never believe I'd do, which is teach marketing, sales, and consumer psychology centered around social media and LinkedIn. So maybe that's the story you want, because I don't want to go all the way back to second grade. But yeah, it was unexpected leadership. And honestly, if you want me to get into the story, I can give you the mini version. It's funny, but I had to find it. I had to find my way. I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong, right? You learn the technical skills, you learn stuff, you need that, but you have to do like Elvis said, do it your way, right? And I think that's where people screw up. It's like learning the cha-cha. If I learned the cha-cha, my country self did that, it would be funny, right? I would be stepping on toes, counting steps, women would giggle. But once I got the technical down, then I put my own voice, my own flavor, my own style into it. And I think that's where people kind of get lost. They just I did the sales pitch, but it didn't work. Yeah, because it's not you. Yeah, you're completely you, Scoob, right? You do your Scooby impression and all that good stuff. You don't care. And I think there's a lot to be said for the mental game before you go working on your marketing game.
Yeah, that's so, so true. We really have to be able to work on ourselves before we can get anywhere else. If we're not good with ourselves, then, how we're going to be good for other people. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested. You're saying you're the unexpected leader of the Hound Dogs. How do you become an unexpected leader? That's very interesting.
Yeah, let me tell that story because I tell it all the time on the group calls, and it's never a script. This is the most realest thing ever because I think people can relate. I know people can relate to it because they're in the hounds. So right after COVID, I was in finance. I'm actually the redneck financial coach, but I never talk about money or finance. And people ask me, why don't you talk about it? And the easy answer is nobody wanted to hear about it, right? Especially on LinkedIn, they're all trying to sell their stuff and be seen. So what happened is right when COVID hit, I was getting a little bit of my stride. So instead of being told no 1,000 times, I was getting told no 998 times. And I had started a business to help support the back office of other financial vice presidents. So I was starting to gain traction. I finally, as poor dirt my whole life, I finally made six figures. And COVID hit, and I just started losing heart. So I did the worst thing you could do. I was 38 at the time. I hated social media. So I went on mostly LinkedIn and pitch slapped with a P, pitch slapped and spam people for 2 years. And that explains my receding hairline, right? The other side is my kids, but this one fell out because I didn't know what else to do. And it was a real hard thing to go out there and think that people didn't like me. That's what I thought. Hey, they don't like me. They don't like your business. You suck. And so that was real hard. So what happened was I almost spent my last $4,000 on a LinkedIn marketing course. Thank goodness I didn't. And what happened was I met this crazy cage fighter from Chicago, right? And he was an influencer, but he was a different style of him, right? He talked about know, like, and trust. The stuff I did in person before COVID, he was talking about doing that in life and on social media. And everything he was saying, I really resonated with. Here's what happened. Long story shorter. So around Christmas time, I was sitting outside in Kentucky freezing my tail off. And this guy come out of nowhere and like Wizard of Oz, Scoob, he pulled the curtain back and he started talking about all these things, right? How to connect with people, how to bring value, how to sort people and attract and repel and be yourself, be authentic. I was like, wow. So I burned this guy up for 3 hours. He's giving me this stuff I almost paid $4,000 for, right? So fast forward, and this is how the Hounds got started, my unexpected leadership. So from December to March, he was putting us in a group. I was learning all this stuff I didn't know how to do live streams, all this stuff. And then he called me up one day, and this changed not just my life, but many lives through the Hounds and a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. He called me up and he says, "Hey man, your profile picture sucks and you're wearing a suit. Why?" I said, "Wow, man, they don't parse words in Chicago, do they, right, Scoop?" I said, "Wow." I said, "I'm a fiduciary. I'm supposed to brush my teeth, comb my hair, take a bath, that kind of stuff." He says, "Is it working for you?" No, no, I make more money crushing tin cans. No, it's not doing anything. He says, so why don't you let yourself out? He says, why don't you just, he said, you talked about chickens when you explained investments for Pete's sake, right? He said, why don't you put your hat on, your camo hat, and just let that all go? I said, man, you must be out of your mind. You must be sick. I said, I'll be the laughing stock. It'll never work. He said, is it working now? What do you got to lose? My goodness. Yeah, that right there. I said, you know what? Unless you got a shovel, you can't go further than bottom. And I had no interest in doing that, Scoop. So from that point on, I said, you know what? I'm going to be me. And it's not like when I did Larry the Cable Guy in reverse for folks who can't see this. This is not a costume. I'm sitting here in my flannel sleeveless shirt, right? My camo hat, and I don't care. I do this at church, $1 million deals everywhere. This is just who I am because I want to be happy. That's it, period. And I told you backstage, if I couldn't be happy in business and be myself, then I'll go be a rodeo clown or something I can be successful at. So I like Field of Dreams. I built it. So when the guy he got kicked off, my mentor, he was teaching me stuff. He had a big mouth, right? You make the wrong people mad. He got kicked off finally. So I became the de facto leader. Long story short, if I ever had one, this is what happened. I said to myself, instead of trying to pretend to sell and not sell and all these hardcore things that I've learned, and in hindsight, I know why it didn't work. It didn't work because I hated it. It was incongruent with who I was, Scoop. So I had to find a way. And I said, you know what? I don't have nothing to lose. So instead of doing like everybody in my industry was doing, trying to find Joe Rogan and Oprah before they're the big successful people, I said, you know what? What if I just loved on people who could be Joe Rogan and Oprah? It's like meeting Oprah before she's Oprah. And that's what I did. I became an impromptu dating coach. I did anything. I taught on LinkedIn, all the stuff I learned the hard way, I taught others. And I said, if I loved on the right people, maybe they'll take a look. Once they got to know who I am, They'll know, like, and trust me. Maybe they'll take a look and move to try and buy. And sure enough, and I was honest, and all the entrepreneurs listening, be honest. I said, listen, what I know you're going to make money. I'm going to help you. And when you start making 10, 15,000 a month, guess who's coming after you? Oh yeah, everybody's going, but you're going to say, no, thank you. The redneck was here when I was broke. I'm going to stick with him. And they said, yeah, we'll do that. Well, hey, in June, the market went down and everybody started panicking. And guess who they came to? And they, not just them, Scoob, their family, their friends. And I realized this ain't a fluke, man. This ain't one off. This is a recipe, a formula for heart centered, high level professionals. Instead of worrying about what we want, we go out there and help others and they reciprocate. And that's what we built from accident. And I resisted all of that for months because of my own self-esteem issues and lack of self-value. I just didn't see it. And so that's what took me into that journey, because most of us think we have a business problem. We have a head problem. We have a confidence, self-worth problem. And I'm open about that because I want people to know it's not you. You showed up to a football game with a baseball bat, just like I did, right? There's nothing wrong with you. You just have to learn. That's what we stand for. People aren't judged in the Hounds, and we are pushing people up who have a great impact to make, but they just don't have the resources or the support to do it. And that's what we stand for, brother.
That's fantastic. It's something that comes across my mind when you say things like that, and it's something I like to say too. Is we rise by lifting others, right? We
Amen.
want to
Yeah.
help other people, and in turn they'll help us, and it's a whole reciprocal thing. And then when we get to a point where we can pay them for services or anything, we're going to be the first ones on their mind because we're the ones that actually helped them right in the first place. And it was so nice of this gentleman to pull back the curtain, like you were talking about earlier, let you tour the factory, see how he did things, and lift you that way, right? And
Yeah.
that's it's amazing. But it sounds like from the very beginning, you actually came across one of my main hurdles, and that would be imposter syndrome. And it sounds like since you've gotten over imposter syndrome to a point, because we always have imposter syndrome at one point or another,
Yeah.
it just changed your life.
It did. And it still is. Again, it's what's in between the two ears is everything. And we all have stuff to overcome. We've had people, family, ourselves. We grew up with people doubting us or saying things about us. You can't do that. So we have these tapes that go off in our head. And it's really difficult to see it. But I hate to say it, but a lot of times we have to rely on external validation or KPIs, right? We have to, but once you do something, and again, this is something I learned a long time ago. So if you're struggling out there with imposter syndrome or I'm not good enough, join the club. But here's what you should do. You should take count of the evidence, right? It's like saying Scoob's not good at it. Yes, he is, or he wouldn't be doing it every week, right? You look back and say, hey, I am successful. I've had successful people on the show. I've done this. I've done that. And you have to celebrate the wins. That's what, and not, and I'm not talking about celebrating with others. Celebrate them to yourself, because that's like throwing water on the negativity of fire in your brain. You got to say, hey, you know what? I hear this tape going off, but is that right? I just did A, B, and C, right? So celebrate those little wins. If you're an extrovert and you stood up and talked for 5 seconds, dadgummit, you should really celebrate yourself and say, I did that. And you stack the other win on top of that. And then one day you keep doing that. And hey, you look in the mirror, you made that person, you made that man and woman, right? If trial by fire. And by the way, I'm a firm believer, Scoob, if you can't let it be, if you can't let those tapes or something that someone said to hurt you, use it as fuel. Hey, I I was working the other day and I was going to stop, and somebody's negative tape went off of my head and it just put me down. It was bad. And it has been years since I heard this. And I said, you know what? I got you. And so I'm working and my wife comes in. She's like, it's Friday. Why are you working till 8 o'clock? I said, because they're not. Because they're not. Because I am going to do this. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to make things happen, because that negative tape could have done two things, could have knocked me down and kept me down, or I can learn to use it for fuel. So if somebody throws a bag of horse dung at you, you can either let it soil your day, or you can use it to make your fertilizer factory stock go up. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect
So it's
sense.
all the see it. It's all the way you see it, brother.
It's what we do with that tape, as like you were talking about earlier. It's what we do with that information is what makes us who we are as humans, right? Do we turn that thing into
Yep.
something that's going to bring us down, or do we turn that into something that's going to say, hey, you said I can't do this, just watch me do this, and then do the thing, right? And I
Yep.
think I heard this the other day. Frank Sinatra said this: the best. I hope I say this. The best. Come on, brain. Oh gosh, I love editing. Let's see. The best revenge is massive success. So we use this negativity from other people as fuel. Watch me do this, and I will accomplish what you think I can't do.
Absolutely. And use it for fuel, not just because you don't want to get up every day and just do stuff to counter others, but use it as a way to do the hard work. No, we bury our head in the sand for a reason, right? We buried the childhood trauma and all this stuff that we deal with, and we just carry it around. So use that to dive in. I faced massive betrayals and all kind of things, man, from people. And I had to realize one day, hey, dogs bark, cats meow, and people. I'm responsible. It doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean that they should have done it. It means that if this continues to happen, it's me. It's not Scoop's fault. It's not their fault. I have to live with me. So I had to learn, why am I not setting boundaries? Why am I not doing this? Because oftentimes it's something stuck. It's not the business. It's like when you give a sales pitch, somebody's ready to listen and they were going to buy, but you couldn't close the deal. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, what is that? Because you may not believe it. How the heck are they going to believe it? If you don't believe in you, they're not going to believe in you. So you can have the best sales scripts on earth, but unless you own it, and that to me takes a lot of inner work. You have to dive in and go, hey, what's my flaws? What's the truth? But once you come out the other side of that, nobody can hurt you. You really can't, because you're basically obsessed with the mission. Right now, this impact, I want to see it on a scale. Hundreds is great, but I want to see tens of thousands. I want to see millions. I want to see millions of lives changed. It's not just about making money. If thousands of heart-centered high-level professionals, if we got to do whatever we wanted every single day with whoever we wanted, then we can make a serious dent in stuff that matters. Food insecurity, homelessness, right? Equality. And that's what the Hound stands for. And out of the pain and being rejected for 40 years, now at 43 years old, I'm leading an amazing team and community of people who believe like this. So whatever you're struggling with that you're avoiding out there, face it, because what stands in the way becomes the way. And I think that's what's the problem, right? Once you can overcome that, how powerful it is to look someone in the eye and go, I understand you. I've been there. And you tell them the hard truth, and they take your advice because they believe you, right? Because you've been there. That's what we need to be for each other. And so if you're out there struggling, go find somebody that can point you in the right direction, that you respect, that's been there, and go interview them. Say, how did you get unstuck? And then go to work. Once you get your head in your heart, once you know why you get out of bed, no one can hurt you. And that's what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, or success in general, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that actually is really close to my heart too, because I'm a former 16-year car salesman. So if you want to talk about having to have that right set mindset, and if you don't believe in your product, you don't believe in yourself and your capabilities, there ain't nobody buying anything from you.
No.
And it's so weird how it worked for me was like if you're not selling anything, you sell nothing. And when people feel that. People know that negativity that you have in your heart, I gotta sell this, or otherwise I'm not gonna make money. It hurts. It's not good.
Yeah, it
But when
does.
you sell something, suddenly you're selling everything. Everything turns to gold because you have that confidence. You have that, okay, now it's working, everything's working. So that's awesome. And you bring up a good point. Take responsibility for your actions and what you do. Say, hey, I did this. Yes, I did this. Whatever it is that you have to take responsibility for, good or bad, because it's going to show you as a real person that takes real responsibility for what you do and what your accomplishments are. And when we do change a life, we don't just change that life. We change the lives of everybody that touches that life, and so on and so on and so on. And that's how we change the world. By changing one life, we could change many, many lives behind that.
The compound effect. Absolutely. And there's things that I've done in just a short amount of time that I'll never see. The fruit that I'll never see. And I was blessed. I was blessed to be the catalyst. We're the hounds of business, right? We're not the hounds of therapy or kumbaya. But honestly, we were born out of a friendship group. We rallied behind each other because we believed in each other. We were struggling together in the same kind of ways. And that's what launched some of the most innovative projects. I probably made 10 cents an hour on the very first project when it was all said and done, Scoob. But I didn't care because I cared about this person. They gave me a chance, right? And I wanted to prove that I could do it for them. And it's like playing an Olympic-sized ping pong game, right? You hit the ball a little bit, I hit it back. Before you know it, man, we've got this fiery speed game going, and that's a fun feeling. So yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I find your tribe too, because we touched on something earlier. Yeah, help the right people. Keyword: right people. Test people, discern people. Know that not everybody's going to share your heart, right? But look for people who show and demonstrate core values that resonate with you. I'm seriously in this to help people, help myself, help my family, right? Change that generational baggage, but then also go out there and help others do it. I don't talk about it much, but somebody opened up about it, and I shared my recovering alcoholic story, right? 8 years sober. And I had no clue. 2.5 hours, I said, oh, nothing's going to happen. Everything I said, they took action on, man. And to be the catalyst, unbelievable. So in your business, the same thing. Stop acting like it's weird or you're taking money from people. Get over yourself. Yeah, you're out here trying to use your business as an extension of who you are, and it has value, and they have a solution. And if you don't do that, and if you don't own that, if you don't spend late nights getting over it and learning your craft and getting healthy inside, then they're going to go waste money elsewhere. And I think that's the key. So even in business, especially in business, you can have a compound effect. It's more than just selling products, guys. So thank you for that, Scoob, because that was gold, brother.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love talking about that. And you are when you're doing something where you don't care if you're paid 10 cents or at all, really. You really get into this,
Right.
you're in your zone of genius. You're in your zone of genius when you're doing something you love so much you don't care if you get paid or not.
Right.
And I always talk about that in my podcast. If it's something that you love that much, you go do it. Go do it for free. It's all it's going to do is make you feel better that you're helping other people accomplish what they need to accomplish in their lives. And that gives you that nice, warm, squishy feeling in your chest right there because that's what that is worth more than any kind of money that you have. And you make a good point about making sure that the people you surround yourself with are good people, people that you can lean on, people that understand you. We are the combination of the five people we hang around most. So we have to be careful about what five people those are. And you make a good point about the whole thing too. Is like, yes, we want to get paid. We're entrepreneurs. That's what we do. That's how we keep things going. But the money is the byproduct of how well we serve others. So make sure that we are serving others first and the money will follow. It's not the other way around.
Hey, gold, man. Why ain't you in the Hounds? We got to fix that. All right. So I love what you said because, guys, I'm not a theorist. I'm a practitioner. I do things, right? I do. I and I can tell Scoob does too. So I'll give you a prime example about that. Free. All right. Sometimes you got to start off. That's all you can do is free. You have no authority. Maybe your branding's off. There's something going on, but maybe free is all you can do. But I'll tell you what, I did it the other day. I said, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to work on this program. And I did it. I put the person on there. They got success. It was funny. It was cute. It was innovative. And they didn't pay me for it. And it broke me. I was like, oh man, what the heck? Like, how could you not pay me? And I know it worked because the next day they were like, can you do it again with this code? They wouldn't have said that if it didn't work. So when you go out there and do things and people don't go with it, you know what I did, guys? I took that and I showed the other four people who became a sponsor quick, right? So go out there and do a couple things and not just free, but trade. There's people out there, you have cookies, they have milk. Go out there. If you're struggling and you're just implementing stuff in your entrepreneurial business, then go find you a business strategist, right? Like that's what I did. Christine Bell, one of the best, most brilliant business strategists. I couldn't afford it. I could never find it. But because we're in community and I had the specific sales piece that helped her fill in the blanks. So we crossed over. And now we promote each other. Now we help each other. We refer people. We bring each other business. So go out there and find a dadgum partner that you can cross pollinate, learn from, and grow with. That's the ultimate, my opinion.
Doesn't always have to be about money. There's other things, other practices, other experience that you could trade with other people. And you make a great analogy. I love that milk and cookie analogy because now you're making me hungry. But
Me
But
too.
I'll give you a good example of that too. When I first started 3 years ago, I came across a gentleman who did graphics. And it was something I actually kind of wanted in my podcast, in my YouTube channel. But at the same time, it's like I couldn't pay the guy. So I was like, hey, how about if I give you 6 months of free advertising on my podcast? Perfect. He gave me the graphics. I advertised him for actually almost a year after that. And it just worked out. So there's always a way to work something out. It doesn't always have to be an exchange of cash.
Man, that beautiful example. I'm not going to spoil it with my redneck idioms, man. That's good. Good job. Yeah. Because again, stop thinking like a chess piece on the board. Stop. Everybody wants to be the queen or the bishop or the rook. Stop that. Zoom out. Take an aerial view of the board and become a chess master. I can't do that. You know what? I'm going to go like water. I can't go through it. I'll go over it, under it, around. I'll find a way. I'll create a way. I'm a creator. And that's what I do. I take things, I innovate them, and I make it work, but don't work. Do it anyway. Find a way. You're an entrepreneur. You ain't got no rules. You left that job. That you need to make the rules. As long as it's not illegal, immoral, and unethical, who cares? What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work? Then don't do it again. But how are you supposed to know if it don't work unless you try it? I will look like the biggest goofball. I don't care. Now I do it in secret as much as possible. But I'll go out there. I did some donkey thing the other day. I can't remember, but I know it was like, man, that was really bad. But you know what? It could have been really good. Sometimes it turns out really good, like putting a stupid camo hat on and being yourself, right? Like I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't do that crazy move. So here's another one that I think you'll like: courage before confidence. How did you get the confidence? Man, I had no confidence. That's another one of your four stops, right? That I didn't have no confidence. I had courage. I had courage to be rejected again. I had courage to look like a donkey. That's what it takes. So don't believe this confidence stuff. Go get beat up a little bit. You'll gain some confidence, or you'll quit. At least you know where you're at.
That way we don't have the regret of not knowing what's on the other side of what we could have done. And you actually hit
Amen.
a good spot too for failure. It's what we do with that failure, what we learn from that failure, and take it into our next adventure so we don't do it again, or we can help somebody else with that story of failure and improve what they're trying to accomplish. So failure is not really a failure if you really think about it. Failure is there. Failure is what we do as entrepreneurs. It's going to be part of it because that's how we learn things. But it's what we do after that failure, whether we take it within ourselves or make it a stop, one of my hurdles of stop. But guys like you and me, Michael, we don't stop. We take that in and use it as a tool.
And I failed. Honestly, if anybody wants to get into the who failed the most category, I might beat you. I'll be honest. You're right. It's failure. We hear this, and we hear this all the time in self-help books and failure, fell forward, and all this stuff. Listen, if you're failing over and over again with the same thing, you got a problem because you're not learning, and you may say, oh, I'm learning and growing, but you're not, or you wouldn't be on the same hurdle, right? You're on the same problem. Here's how I look at it: life in business and entrepreneurship is just one continuous challenge after the other. It really is. There's no arrival. I don't know what that is. If there's somebody out there knows, let me know. But there's no arrival. Warren Buffett has money problems. We have money problems. The difference is he's trying to pay less in taxes because he makes too daggum much, and I'm trying to have his problem. Does that make sense? So do all you can do to get off that hurdle number one and fail faster. You never go into a science lab and see the scientists throw the beaker across the room and start cussing because the experiment failed. In fact, they're elated. They thought it would take 6,000 failures, and it happened at 600. So you have to take that approach, but you also have to be real with yourself. And that might mean late nights. That might be trying to work out deals and things with other people who have that missing link, like we talked about earlier. You really have to do the hard work. You got to pay the price now. There's none of this 9 to 5 stuff. Maybe somebody can do it, but most of us, look, I built from dirt, Scoob. You can't even burn dirt. So it took me years to get where a lot of people were just born at in the scale of life. So compete, but don't compare. But I'm telling you, you're capable of way more than you can even imagine. You listen to all the goofy motivational tapes you can find on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever. Seriously, all day long, there's something playing in my head when I'm not working or with the family. There's some kind of tool, motivation, self-love. I'm always constantly programming, reprogramming what should have been there from the beginning of childhood. But guys, that's where the battle is. Get your head right. People, man, it balances off of me now. Stuff that used to break me 3 months ago makes me laugh in 3 minutes. That's growth. That's resilience. And you have to be honey badger tough to make it in most cases in this business. But you can. Don't let nobody stop you. That's my PBS special right there.
There you
That's
go.
my best one.
But you make a great point too. We come across a lot of people sometimes that want to put us down, that heckle us, or they give us a bad whatever it is that happens to be at that time. But we got to kind of think about what's going on in their heads that they have to go out and talk bad about somebody else, right? So when I come across something like that too, instead of feeling, oh, he doesn't like me or whatever it is, I think, what's going on in their lives that they have to do that? I kind of feel sorry for him.
That what is David Goggins? He said that tape or something I heard the other day. He said you'll never get hated on by the people more successful than you. Something like that. And it's right. The only people think about this, the only people putting you down are people who A failed and gave up by failure. They just couldn't hack it. And B never even want to attempt it. And that's the vast majority of people, right? That's why they're grumpy. You're over here paying the price, probably going into debt, doing all kind of crazy stuff. And they don't. But they kick a stray cat on the way home, right? They're the guy who yells out the window for no reason on a road rage. So you have to frame this and go, look, consider the source. I put it this way, Scoob. I'm nuts, man. You gotta excuse me. I always looked at it as I said, listen, if Mother Teresa looked at me and said, that redneck's a real you know what, that would bother me, right? Because I don't like that person. I want to, align with that person. That bothers me. Maybe I'm doing something out of character. But if somebody else, some like I'm not going to say his name, but some criminal doesn't like me, good. I that doesn't make sense. I don't eat people, right? I'm not a cannibal. So if somebody said I don't like him, why would I care? And I know that sounds extreme, but guys, you got to. I used to look up at people. That's the worst thing you can do. Oh, this guy. No, we're all equal. We all put our pants on the same daggone way, and you are worthy of respect. All right. If that person doesn't respect you, walk off. And I've walked off from $30,000 deals with zero income and a family and two kids because that person, oh man, that person, and I needed that money and I tried to justify it. Oh, my values, absolutely not. Integrity is top notch on my value system, and this person has none done. And it took a while, but opportunities start trickling in and then they started growing because other people watch you, man. Lurkers are everywhere. Social media, nobody likes my post. They're watching you anyway. And the reason they're not liking it is because everybody's been screwed by someone, so no one trusts anyone, especially on LinkedIn. So when you're out there being consistent, an oak tree and a sea of tumbleweeds, man, you're not a branding expert today and a lawn care expert the next day. Look around. That's what's happening. They're just chasing dollars, man, snake oil. And you don't waver. A hurricane comes by, you're still there. I'm telling you, when you operate from value system and you just start pushing everybody in the wayside, the noise, your life will change. But you have to be willing to prune those branches. Those people you're hanging out with late at night watching TV or going to bars, do you think successful people are doing that? No. So you have to start changing who you are. And it's painful to lose those relationships or put them on the pause button, but you got to. You can't have success and be average. That's like counterintuitive. You cannot have this level of success and want to do what everybody else that you used to work with do. Does that make sense? Right? You can't have your cake and eat it too at the beginning.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. You can't be hanging around the people that are average and think you're going to be bigger than what they are because that's what you're surrounding yourself with. It actually circles right back to the 5 people that you surround yourself with most. So, and the other thing too that kind of caught my interest when you were talking there, comparison. We don't want to compare ourselves to other people. We want to compare ourselves to ourselves, what we did a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. Comparison is the thief of joy. The more you compare yourself to these other people, you're gonna get that imposter syndrome because I'm never gonna be like them, no matter how hard I try. No, that's not the way we want to think about things. The way we want to think about things is, hey, I did this last week and now I'm better at it. I did this last month and I actually got a client out of it. I did this last year and I've actually was able to quit one of my jobs because I work 2 full-time jobs. But at the same, so we got to really think about it that way instead of instead of comparing ourselves to other people.
Hey, man, unbelievable. You get this. You absolutely get this, right? And so compete. My mentor told me compete, but don't compare. And I never understood that for a long time. I do now. I absolutely get it. But those people, and I ain't gonna lie, I've had some people that they treat me like the valet parking, right? Like they're so big and I'm so small. We all encounter that. But you know what? I flipped the script in less than 2.5 years. I've got people who made some of the most amazing things. They made some of the candy we eat daily since the 80s. They're coming to me now. And I don't mean that to be cocky. I used to say this all the time. I was like, I feel like a poor kid waking up in Santa's workshop every day, just being around these people and having this opportunity. And someone, Scoob, said, hey, you got to quit saying that. I said, why did I need to quit saying that? They said, because you're Santa now. Huh, I'm the last to know. See, but again, I didn't do it for that. But then I turned around and said, you're the elephant with the tiny stick. You're the ginormous elephant that still thinks that tiny stick in the ground that you had since birth can keep you where you're at. All you got to do is sneeze and you'll pull that stick out. And that's what you guys have to be on. Yeah, you're a baby. We're all babies, but you grow up. And the faster you grow up, the harder you become, the more immersed in self-improvement, true self-improvement, learning all the skill sets, staying up late, going to bed, staying up late, going to bed early, something like that. And you know what I'm trying to say. But that's what I mean. And you hear this stuff and you're like, but this is the real. You just have to pay the price. And then think opportunities come about. I have a lady that popped in a year and a half ago, and I just now kind of hit my first stride. And I'm telling you, if this lady wasn't around, I'd probably be gone. We wouldn't be here right now. If she sprouted wings, I'd be like, yep, makes sense. I wouldn't even flinch. And those kind of opportunities, you can't plan them in a business plan. But when you get smarter and you plan, you open yourself up for more possibilities of these opportunities. More people like you will come into your life because you're doing the things that attract business people. If you're out here talking bad about people, well, you're not going to attract high level caliber people. But if you start acting, and back to the imposter syndrome, fake it till you make it sometimes. Sometimes you have to get in there. You have to just cannonball yourself in it. It's like that John Wayne movie where he just throws the kid in the water. He's like, how old are you? 12. He just throw him in there. It's time to learn. He said, grab some water and pull it to your chest. That sometimes you got to do it. And most of the time in entrepreneurship, you might look stupid or you might feel goofy. But just like you said earlier, Scoob, here's what I learned. If I don't do this, if I don't say this, if I don't try this, if I don't go at it, will it keep me up at night? If the answer is yes, just do it. If I really don't care, then it probably don't matter. But is this going to keep me up at night? And same thing. If somebody disrespects you and it bothers you, hey, find a way to tell them nicely tomorrow because it's going to eat at you. It's going to erode your confidence. It's going to erode everything you've got. So protect yourself, protect your self-worth. And yeah, man, I'm just getting off on it, man. You're too good of a host. I'm just can't stop. You got to cut me off, man.
I want to respect your time here, and this has been probably one of the most fascinating conversations I've had in a really long time. So, Mike, I want to do one thing with you here before we go, and I do this with all my guests. I'd like to know what your 6 month goal is. I always follow up with my guests every 6 months to find out how they've progressed in their entrepreneur adventure. So, where do you see yourself and the Hounds in the next 6 months?
That's interesting. We're working on the KPIs and kind of measurements of the Hounds, but here's where I want to go ultimately because I'm still working on the 6 month plans. I'm not trying to duck you, but I can finally admit this. And when you can finally say this stuff out loud, then you know you're serious about business. You have a fighting chance in business if you can say that. Somebody said, what do you want? I used to give the answer, oh, 10,000 people, blah, blah, blah. Here's the real answer. And maybe in 6 months, why not? Crazier things have happened. Somebody's going to walk up to me one day and go, oh, it's you. It's you. And I'm like, yeah, it's me. Who is it? And oh, man, I love leading in the Hounds. Oh, my goodness, I love this. Oh, the Hounds is great. And I go, leading in the, who is this person? See, because I'm flying around everywhere. I'm on jet planes. I'm on podcasts. I'm knocking down 20,000 people that are joining the pack right after I get done talking, man, because they relate to us. They get it. They want to be a part of it. They're astray. They found their way home. That's my ultimate goal. And I couldn't have told you that 6 months ago. Scoop couldn't even say the words, but that's my goal. So honestly, I'm not quite sure on my KPIs and all the technical. We're working on it now, but that's the goal. That's the ultimate destination. And people go, wow, that's crazy. No, I want 1 million people, heart-centered, high-level professionals of all walks of professional life. I want 1 million of them in 3 years. People say, oh, that's nuts. You know what? Reach for the stars, grab a tree branch. And by the way, watch around you. The people who keep doubting your big visions, I don't know. Maybe they shouldn't be around you much longer. Because I said that to a group of people, half of them went, "Yeah, he's nuts, and we're crazy enough to go with him." And the other part said, "I don't know." And guess who stayed through thick and thin? Guess who's reaping the rewards of our success? Guess who left? So, yeah, I'm not trying to dodge the question, but that's what it's about. As soon as somebody walks up and goes, "It's you," and this had an impact in my life, I'm gonna know that all this crap I put up with is worth it.
What's funny that you say that because that's actually my made it moment. When I go out like anywhere else, and aren't you Scoob? Yeah, I love and that kind of thing. That's all I want. I don't want a million bajillion dollars. I don't need to have millions of followers or anything. I just need one person to come up to me and just shake my hand and say, "I recognize you. Thank you for what you do." That's all I want.
That's
It's
it.
not
Because you changed their life. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
that's it.
All right.
And when you've done it once, you could do it again. Now it's a scale up. And the last thing, if you did it one time, that's enough. There's no difference between one and 1,000 except scalability. So ask yourself, how can I do this twice as fast, right? How can I do this? That's it. Everybody out here listening going, "I can't do this." Y'all done did it. Probably did it 6 months ago, but you won. "Oh, I did it for free." You still brought value. Stop dumping on yourself. That's all I want to say because that's what's happening. Stop dumping it on yourself. You give me all the reasons and excuses why you can't be successful. I'm going to challenge you. Hounds of Business. Go look us up. Carrier Pigeon, LinkedIn, YouTube. Give us one reason you can't. Just try one, right? And if you can't do it alone, hey, welcome here. That's it.
So that's always my next question is it's your time to shine. I want you to be able to advertise yourself on how we get a hold of you, how we get a hold of the hounds, all that good stuff. I know you kind of touched on it, but let's get it official this time. Okay, ready, set, go.
I stole your thunder, man, because
You did.
I'm always hosting like you are. It's hard to transition. You're a gracious host, man. Yeah, find us on LinkedIn. That's where we hang out. So it's Mike Asherbranner. I know it's a lot of words, but you can also search Hounds of Business on YouTube. We have on LinkedIn. Our YouTube channel is bumping. My website, you can find us, but I haven't touched it for a while. It's redneckfinancialcoach.com. All right. So we'll get on that soon enough. But yeah, plug in, check us out. And there's no we're a free community. We're going to have a paid tier membership optional soon. So don't let nothing stop you. Come in, check it out. And by the way, I don't have an ego here. It's treat it like a buffet. You can have all, none, some, come back later, watch the game, have a drink. We don't care. We just want people to test drive it. Hopefully you buy clothes, you try on clothes before you buy them. Hopefully you date before you get married, right? Same concept. Test drive us out. And I'll tell you this, if you don't like it or it's not a good fit, I'll walk you somewhere else. I'll take you somewhere else that might be a good fit because I just want to see more good people do better stuff. Stop being stuck. Don't look back and go, "Oh, I wish I'd done that." Just do it now. I'd rather die fighting on my feet than grovel at my knees. So that's my calling card, Scoob. I appreciate the platform, appreciate you, the opportunity to be here. And I just hope one person was inspired by some craziness I said here today. And that made it all worthwhile, brother.
All right, awesome. Michael, thank you so much for being the undiscovered entrepreneur. Get across the start line. Thank you so much. And you have yourself a great day. Thank you. All right, Scuba Believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye bye. All right, Scuba Believers, that was Mike. Man, that guy had a lot of energy, and this guy has to be the most authentic guy I've ever met in my lifetime. He just ultimately is himself. And it really teaches me how to embrace my authentic self. And you should be able to embrace your authentic self too. I mean, put on your own camo hat and let the true personality shine. Your uniqueness is your superpower, and it will attract the right people who resonate with you and your values and your mission. That's why you shouldn't be afraid to be yourself. You'll have some people, like Mike says, you'll have some people that laugh at you. You'll have some people that doubt you. But ultimately, at the end, the people that you attract, the people that want to hear from you are the people that are going to follow you. And you'll see that more and more as time goes on in your entrepreneur adventure. And courage does definitely come before confidence. Take bold action, even when you're uncertain, even when you're not sure. And remember that every failure as a stepping stone towards success. Let's not give failure a bad name. Failure is something we can all learn from. We talk about that all the time in the hurdles of stop. Your resilience and your willingness to keep pushing forward will set you apart in the entrepreneur world. And that is the truth. Look inside yourself and know that you, the person that's on the other side of this camera or listening to this podcast right now, will move forward as long as you keep your resilience and your willingness to push forward. Always keep that in mind. And with that thought, I'm going to say thank you so much for another episode of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.